Welcome to Healthy and Wise with Melody Watts. I'm excited to talk to you guys about a topic that is near and dear to me, essential oil brands. And this is a really important topic because in the last 5, even 6 years, there have been hundreds of essential oil brands that have popped up. And of course, everyone's trying to compare their oils to the gold standard, which of course we know is doTERRA. And we also know that there's a lot of essential oil companies out there making a lot of claims about their purity. And so I wanted to just speak to this because first of all, I'm a girl that doesn't mind, competition. I don't mind. I mean, I sell doTERRA, so I'll just put this out there right now. And I don't mind healthy competition, fair competition. And I'm so glad that doTERRA has raised the bar and raised the awareness around essential oils and how powerful they can be. So I'll just put that little disclaimer out there. And what I don't like to see is other companies that are clearly synthetic, clearly adulterated, that the average consumer, even the savvy consumer, will miss. So I'm just going to give you guys a couple examples of essential oil adulteration, what's happening out there, and why I only use doTERRA. So the first thing I'll put out there is that I have multiple chemical sensitivities. So for me, I can't just hope that I get the right oil. And we're using this in our family for therapeutic reasons. So we're using it on our skin, we're diffusing it, we're using it internally, and we're getting results, very therapeutic results in my family about 99% of the time. When we have a minor health concern, we're able to use natural solutions, which is awesome. And part of the reason is because of the quality. So I'm going to talk a little bit about testing, and then I'm going to give you a few examples of the kind of adulteration that's going on in the industry. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is doTERRA has a standard that they've created and that they've trademarked called CPTG, which is Certified Pure Therapeutic Grade. And this is a standard that they started 12 years ago because there was no regulation in the industry. There was no standard in their industry. And they found that through their research and through working with very advanced labs that there was a lot of adulteration. So why is adulteration important? What is it? Why is it important? So it would be like going to a pharmacy and getting a really unregulated product. Like, hey, this is your thyroid medication. And by the way, I just got this notice because years ago, I was on thyroid medication and used the pharmacy at Fred Meyer. And I just got a notification that said, hey, there's a recall of this particular thyroid medication. And it was years ago. So I don't remember using the pharmacy. But I guess they had to send it out. Didn't have the amount of thyroid that it claimed that it did. And I used bioidentical thyroid at the time, and now I'm completely off thyroid medication due to some functional medicine stuff that I did, but that's neither here nor there. But my point is, it would be like getting a prescription that didn't have what it claimed that it had in it, and that it was synthetic. And oftentimes medications are synthetic, to be fair. And essential oils are not medications. So, but it would be like getting something that didn't have what it said that it was had in it. And I know that years ago, or even in recent years, GNC and Walmart and some of these other grocery stores, it showed that 60%, the FDA did kind of this research, and it showed that 60% of them didn't have what they claimed they had in them. And so that's the problem that we're seeing in the essential oil industry, only it's much worse, even organic brands, because with the organic standard in the essential oil industry, these organic certification entities are not actually even going out and visiting these farms, and they're not checking the final product because that's not in the organic standard. You don't have to check the final product. You just have to have this soil and don't spray and that kind of thing, but they're not checking for overflow potentially of herbicides. They're not checking for pathogens. They're not checking for contaminants, and they're also not checking for, what could be as far as chemical constituents being potent. They're not checking for that either. And so it's really important that you're working with a company that does this now. So now what a lot of essential oil companies are doing is they're actually going in and doing these gas chromatography mass spectrum testing. Okay. So that in the essential oil industry is like the new standard, like, oh, we have gas chromatography, mass spectrum testing, so our oils are good. Well, it turns out that these companies that are releasing gas chromatography, mass spectrum testing, it turns out that they do think they're getting a pure oil. They're purchasing it from the brokers. That's how 99% of oils are purchased in the world. They're purchasing it from brokers, and the brokers have come up with some very sophisticated ways to make sure in their adulteration, the way that they add chemical constituents, the way they stretch their oils with carrier oils with different ingredients, the way that they're able to hide their contaminants, okay? Or spike lavender with synthetic linalool to make it look higher. They are actually able to get past gas chromatography and mass spectrum testing. So the tests say these oils are fine, they pass these 2 tests, you're good, you're golden. Well, doTERRA did a little bit more digging and a lot more extensive testing, and their labs are much more sophisticated. The third-party labs that they use, Aromatic Plant Research, is who they use, and they're much more sophisticated, and they're able to catch the adulteration on these gas chromatography mass spectrum testing, where other labs aren't able to test, and these other companies aren't able to do it because they just don't have the mission in mind. And doTERRA's mission is to pursue what's pure and to make sure they have the highest quality oils that are therapeutic grade, that are certified to have the levels they need. Now, let's take it even further. Roseman University, a third-party medical university, actually went behind essential oil companies. Okay, they did this without their knowledge. They went behind doTERRA's back. They checked Young Living out. They checked out Plant Therapy, all these other brands. And I think it was around 50 different brands that they checked. And they checked, and you can actually Google Roseman University doTERRA study. And there's a couple companies that tried to like smear their research, but the research is really, really amazing because they wanted to like discredit them. But there's no discrediting them. They used petri dishes with human cells. They used liver cells, and they were able to determine when they added essential oils to the human cells that it's very different from doing a gas chromatography mass spectrum testing. But what they did when they added the oils to the human cells, the only brand that had significant impact positively on the human cells was doTERRAs. So they called doTERRA and they said, do you guys know that your oils are superior on human cells? And doTERRA was like, well, we know that, but how did you guys do that? And so after that, they partnered with doTERRA, and they're going to continue to do testing because we really do want more human clinical trials. And over the next decade, that's really doTERRA's goal, is to get more and more studies and research on humans. The more we have, the more we're able to really help people with natural solutions. So that's one of the reasons why I only use doTERRA oils. Another reason is, and I'll just recommend you do this, if you don't have doTERRA oil, get some doTERRA oils, get whatever brand you're using, whether it's peppermint or lemon or frankincense, and put a drop on your skin, because it's human cells, right, that the oils react differently with. And then do the other brand on the other side and just smell the way the oil interacts with your tissue and the way that it flashes off. And I want you to smell both sides. And every time I've done this, 100% of the time, and I've done it with hundreds of people, they immediately can tell the difference between the pure oil and the synthetic or the weak oil. And what they end up smelling is that this one, the doTERRA one, it keeps smelling accurate. It keeps smelling the way that it's supposed to. It keeps smelling like the peppermint plant. Whereas this one will interact differently, start to smell synthetic, or you'll smell chemical undertones. One gal, we did plant therapy grapefruit, and she was like, oh, I thought it would be so good because it was organic. And not only was it so weak, the smell, it just kind of had like this gross smell after a while of being on her skin. And she was using doTERRA. She just thought, oh, it must, this must be organic, so it must be good. And it just wasn't. So there was also a study that was done by Consumer Reports, Essential Oil Consumer Reports, where they tested 10 different brands. And they only tested 3 oils per brand, and they found that 7 out of 10 brands had synthetics in them. There was another study done by, I'll post it in the link, by a very well-known essential oil aromatherapy entity. And the name is, like I said, the name is fleeting right now, but I'll post it in the comments or in the subject line in the post. But basically what it was is they tested lavender, and about 70% of the lavender produced in the world is synthetic. And the thing about that is, if you're using essential oils for therapeutic benefit and you're actually getting a negative response, and this is what Roseman tested. Roseman tested that their cells were actually getting a negative response And so you don't want to use oils that are going to give you a negative response. You might feel symptom relief from some brands because they do help reduce sympathetic response, but then the problem is they also suppress parasympathetic response because they're synthetic and the body doesn't recognize it the same as when it's a real organic molecule from nature. And when it's a real organic molecule from nature, it actually suppresses the sympathetic response or the negative response symptoms while increasing function. And that's what you want. And so if you're actually getting results with different brands, then try doTERRA, because this is what I hear from people. We use less, it works better, it works faster, it's more effective. And sometimes people, you have to get to use 10 times less the dose. Like I know people that were using 10 drops of ginger a day, and now that with doTERRA, they use 1 drop of ginger for digestive support. So it's just the potency, it matters, right? And there's so many other things like that I could tell you about other brands that where the adulteration and the synthetics are, and you know, the way that they're doing it. There's so many diverse ways that they make their oils fake and then make them look good. And they're all about really how cheap can we get these. And doTERRA is more concerned about the process from the ground all the way to the consumer. And so they have 46 different sourcing teams. Other companies don't have sourcing teams. They've put over $130 million into their sourcing initiative, and they bypass the brokers. They're the only company that bypasses brokers. And there's proof of that. If other companies say they're getting direct from the farmer, it's less than 1% of their crop, okay? This has been outwardly proven in a court of law, okay? So I'll just tell you that. There was some legal issues going on with some other companies, and it was proven in court that the essential oils were not being harvested from their own farms. They were being harvested from brokers. And the brokers do not pay their farmers well. Oftentimes they don't treat them well, and oftentimes they don't pay them on time, and oftentimes they don't pay them what they're supposed to pay them. And then they take the oils and they work their magic on them and then turn around and sell them to buyers, okay? Essential oil company buyers. And that's how essential oil companies get their stuff. doTERRA bypassed that process. They could have done that process. It would have been cheaper. It would have been more, it would have been faster, okay? But, and they could have done that. But what they decided to do was go directly to the farmers. And so, for example, their lavender that they get from Bulgaria and France, they work with 300 to 400 different small scale farmers. And then we have our sourcing teams that go out and make sure that there are standards. So if the oils are being collected in plastic, they correct them. No, these have to be collected in glass. Otherwise the oils will have phtalates. And so there's these kind of things that brokers and essential oil companies don't care about. And then the final reason why I think it's so important that you use doTERRA, like a lot of people be like, oh, it's network marketing, I don't want to purchase doTERRA. And I'll just tell you this. I totally agree. Sometimes the network marketing culture can be a turnoff, right? I've been turned off by it for many, many years over the decades. The reason why I chose to work with doTERRA because their culture was different. And to me, it's more about culture than it is about business model. And so for me, working with a rep that was able to actually show me how to get results and show me how to use the oils, because it's not, there is a little bit of a learning curve there. It's simple. And if you have recipes, instructions, it can be simple, but it's a lot quicker learning curve if you have a rep there that you can just get that personalized service. And for me, that made all the difference in my results that I was getting. So rather than buying from an internet brand where the CEO is some, rich guy rolling in all the dough, you're actually supporting a small, generally female business that's helping her family, as opposed to just one big rich CEO that's kind of making all the money and, maybe paying minimum wage to his maybe 100 employees. Or you can be working with a rep that's going to give you personalized service. Now, the price, I'll tell you this, the cost of the oils is actually not that different. doTERRA's oils are generally 15 mils, and other companies are generally selling 5 mils or 10 mils. Occasionally they'll sell bigger bottles, but generally they're 5 mils or 10 mils. And they're also oftentimes diluted with a carrier oil in most cases to kind of stretch their profits. If doTERRA's is diluted with a carrier oil, it's usually a roller, and it's labeled that way so that this is direct for use, and they're much cheaper. They're like $14, $15 for those 10 mils. And so they're really, really affordable. But I'll just tell you this, if an oil like frankincense or sandalwood or melissa or helichrysum is cheap, like dirt cheap, $5, $10, $20, It's not real. You can't get those oils for that cheap. That just the labor alone is, it's a very laborious process to harvest those kind of oils. Melissa essential oil, for example, is one of the most adulterated oils in the world because it's a very small yield. Bergamot essential oil is one of the most expensive citrus oils, although it's not very expensive. It's in the $20 range for a 15 mil. About 80% of the bergamot sold in the world doesn't even exist, is not even grown. So about 300, oh gosh, what's the number? I don't want to give you the wrong number, but it's about 80% of what is sold isn't even grown. So what people are getting is they're getting straight synthetic bergamot essential oil, because it's not even grown in the amounts that it's sold in the world. So keep in mind when you are working with a company like doTERRA that their specialty is essential oils, and their specialty is caring about not just the consumer, but also the farmer, because they know if they take care of the farmer will take care of the plants, right? Like they care about everything from start to finish. Whereas these internet brands and grocery store brands, they might have some like marketing and like fancy, like, oh yeah, look, we put a well in over here. I mean, doTERRA has probably put in hundreds of wells in their sourcing initiatives, but they might have some of those for like PR and marketing, but where they're really getting their oils is from brokers. And so integrity matters, the way people are treated matters, and the price difference on some of those oils, a handful of those oils that are more expensive, this is your family's natural healthcare. Do you want to be using something that's synthetic, or do you want to be using something that works and that actually is tested 11 different tests, not just gas chromatography and mass spectrum testing, but doTERRA does 11 different tests, and then that they have openly on their certified pure therapeutic grade process on their website. But then on top of it, they do even more tests within human cells and cultures and things like that no other company is actually doing. So I just wanted to tell you guys why I choose doTERRA, why I work with doTERRA, and hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please drop it below. I will be posting the studies to those particular studies that I cited in the comments. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.